I bring you now to a very serious segment, and I want to talk to you about crime and violence. And I'm going to start with a focus specifically on this very, very horrifying story. And then we're going to talk about my good old hometown, Chicago. You see, the mayor is basically telling Trump in no uncertain terms, don't bring the feds in here. And I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why I left Chicago. In fact, had dreams of leaving Chicago, like many people from that city. But the first thing I'm going to do is talk to you about the importance of the police, why we have law enforcement. There's a funny post that's going around talking about shopping carts. It says something like, the shopping cart is the perfect example of why we need some kind of government, because it takes you almost no time to return the shopping cart to the cart corral. You're rewarded. There's no reward for it. It's just the right thing to do. And it's not even that big of an inconvenience. Yet still, at supermarkets across the country, carts are littered everywhere. When given the choice, people will do these things and things will kind of just fall apart. Now, I know there's a lot of people who advocate for more smaller government, libertarian government, but I'm much more of a liberal, believing that we do need some kind of government. Take a look at the screen. Ohio police investigate photo of man kneeling on child's neck. Well, that's the headline. A Black Lives Matter supporter was kneeling on the neck of a crying white toddler, baby, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how old the child was. We can call it baby, toddler. Some people will try and argue, but whatever, fine. Infant. This and it said, BLM, MF, or they don't have the photo here. I can't show it. It's horrifying. BLM now, MF, it said. The Clark County Sheriff's Office in Ohio confirmed that an investigation into the photo is underway, but no arrests have been made. The photo is disgusting, to say the least. Like, beyond disgusting. And this is why we have law enforcement. What would we do without the cops who have to deal with these kind of sickos every single day? In Chicago, so that's the just that story, okay? I really wanted to make sure I made the story known, but that's about all I can say on it. I hope they bring this man to justice. The bigger picture, in my opinion, is the importance of law enforcement and why I actually think maybe Chicago needs federal assistance. Trump has talked about sending in the feds to help clean up Chicago, and they've said no over and over again. Donald Trump will order FBI and DEA surge in Chicago and Albuquerque to tackle violence, as Mayor Lori Lightfoot says, under no circumstances will she allow Portland-style crackdown. Operation Legend, they call it, as feds move through. Now, she said something like she wouldn't allow Donald. I wonder if they have the actual statement that she put up, that she wouldn't allow Trump. Here you go. Under no circumstances will I allow Donald Trump's troops to come to Chicago and terrorize our residents. Far too many have suffered. Far too many have attended funerals and tried to start the process of healing entire communities. Following another senseless tragedy. When a person picks up a gun, we suffer as a city. This cannot be who we are. Okay. I do not believe the federal law enforcement in Portland are violating the rights of people. I'm sorry, I just don't. We can argue about the legalities, the line, when they detained that guy for questioning, whether they should have had badges. I believe there is criticism to go around, and you can say there's certain things they could do better. We can always do better. But if you're attacking the Portland courthouse, which is federal jurisdiction, starting fires and throwing commercial-grade fireworks, they're going to enforce the law. If Antifa and the far left just left, nothing would happen. It would all be over. But now they keep showing up every night, and it's getting bigger and it's getting worse. Now, as for Chicago is facing a very violent surge in crime. And we need law enforcement to get a handle on things. When you see stories like the Ohio police and this man kneeling on a child, headlines like that, I cross my fingers and hope that law enforcement can do the job they need to do. And I have to wonder who these guys are that actually jump into the fray. I wouldn't want to do it. I would absolutely not want to do it. I can't imagine the things some of these guys, some of these officers, men and women, actually see when they deal with people like a guy who would kneel on a child's neck. Let me tell you some stories. When I was 14, there was a fight not too far from my home. A bunch of high school kids were fighting. One dude got knocked down, and so he turned around and he pulled out a 2x4. The other guy said, hey, we agreed no weapons. And then he turns around and he picks up where he walks over to a big crowd of people. He apparently hid a gun under a car and then pulled the gun out. These are people who are like 15, 16 years old, maybe 17. I don't know. Not young. They're young teenagers, I guess. That was a regular old fight in my neighborhood in Chicago. Guy pulls out a handgun. Everyone screams. Someone yells strap. I remember I was driving with a friend. We got off the highway when all of a sudden, I have no idea why, a car passing us, a guy just points the gun straight out and fires at our vehicle, and we duck. We're like, why? I remember hearing stories about a workplace in my neighborhood where a gang shootout happened. A guy just runs in, kicks the door open, goes around the wall, and gunshots, leans out the door and starts firing randomly. That's Chicago. I remember a friend of mine telling me on the phone once, who lived only a mile or two away on the south side, that he had seen a couple people dragging a corpse through his alley. It's been a long time since I've left Chicago. And I will tell you this now. If I was walking around my neighborhood and I saw this in the street, these guys in what looks like, I don't know what kind of, it's not urban camo, but they're wearing, greenish camo. I guess it's, terrain camo. I don't know. Forest, rainforest. One officer is wearing all black. If I saw that, you know what I would think? Nothing. No, I'd go about my business. Now, sure, there's an argument about the escalation of authoritarianism. If you're fighting and throwing bricks at cops and they're trying to stop you, stop throwing bricks at cops. What are they doing? They're protecting a courthouse. They're not snatching up children and throwing them in a gulag or something. We can talk about authoritarianism. Where I grew up, if I saw some of these guys on street corners, they wouldn't be wearing gas masks or anything. But if I saw National Guard even, I'd walk past and be like, yo, why? Why would I be upset? Considering the escalation of violence, the murder, the killings, the things I've seen growing up, the goal of leaving the city. Now, this may be a little extreme, but the FBI and the DEA, if I heard the president was going to be sending in law enforcement to help stop the violence, I'd be like, whoa, cool. You know what my worst experiences were in Chicago? Dirty cops. That's about it. So sure, there's a definite concern for me there. Another reason why I'd be like, cool. I left Chicago for several reasons and I never want to go back. That's a fact. When I was younger, people talked about leaving and going to other places, dreaming of being somewhere else, mostly California. A lot of young people were like, can't wait to get up and get out of here. I left as soon as I could. I think I moved out officially when I was like 21 or 22. And so it's been about 12 years. And it's because of the violence being normalized. It's because of dirty cops. You betcha. They got dirty cops in Chicago, man. It's bad. Dirty politics, dirty government, dirty politicians. And I don't want to be there. Mayor Lori Lightfoot, as far as I'm concerned, is politically motivated, and I'm disgusted by this. Terrorize our residents? When I had cops plant weed in my car, who felt terrorized? I did. And even though I've experienced these things, I've talked about it, I'm not going to blame every single cop, which is why I would welcome a new agency to come in and clean things up. Clean up the CPD. I'm not saying every single cop's dirty, but they've notoriously been running what they call black sites. They're off record, where they snatch people up and bring them and hold them. We had the story of John Burge. You ever hear this guy? Accused. I'll just say accused. I don't have the source pulled up. He would torture people into confessions, electrocuting them. This corrupted the whole system. How many of our governors, the past several governors, have been sent to prison in Illinois? The feds need to come in. I'm not slamming all cops. Even experiencing this stuff, I don't think all cops are bad. I think you need an FBI cleanup. I think Trump should send in federal agents into Chicago and stop the gun violence. Now, maybe it could make things worse. I don't know. But if they're not getting the job done now, how dare you say that would terrorize our residents? I have family who live in Chicago, and I'd like to see them protected. And I don't think Chicago is a safe place to be. I think it's an awful place. New York's not perfect. They got bad NYPD cops too. But I'll tell you what, man, NYPD, way better than CPD. I'm sorry, CPD, man. You got more than just some bad apples. You got some bad bushels. Not every cop, like I mentioned. I've been saved by cops in Chicago. Saved me from a mugging. I mentioned about it in the previous segment. And that's why I recognize not all cops are bad. But when you've got widespread gun violence, they call this place Chirac. It's facing its most violent weekend in decades. Come on, man. You need to do something about this. When I was 20 or whatever, I would not think twice to seeing some, federal CBP or whatever wearing camo coming out, armed. I'd be like, hey, what's going on? And they'd probably just be like, we're just here to keep everybody safe, keeping this under control. I'd be like, cool. And then I'd walk over and grab my burger and mind my own business. There's a challenge, right? Freedom versus security. But I really don't believe that simply because you have the presence of federal officers, people's rights are being violated. That's the big question. If a National Guardsman or a federal officer is standing on a street corner wearing a mask with a paintball gun, has anyone's rights been violated? No. If you jaywalk and they beat the crap out of you and throw you in a truck, yeah, okay, right? But right now, no. They're going like, oh, unmarked, unidentified officers are kidnapping people off the street. No. You don't join a riot and then complain that you got detained for questioning. We can talk about Chicago's problems like I just did. The people being, brought to black sites. I don't see you talking about that. We can talk about Obama's indefinite detention provision signed in 2011. You don't talk about that. Standing around is not oppressing your rights. You do not have a right to throw commercial grade fireworks at federal property or to throw bricks and bottles at federal law enforcement. I'll tell you what I would do. If I saw them and I had issue with it, I'd say, I won't stand there. That's about it, man. I'm not going back to Chicago because of how bad it is. I don't like Mayor Lori Lightfoot. I don't know a whole lot about her, but I'm not a fan. She went out and she got a haircut while she was telling everybody else they couldn't go out. Sorry, I'm not playing games. I'm over this. Maybe they need the feds. Maybe. I don't live there anymore. So you know what? I guess I'll abstain from my personal vote opinion. You guys figure it out for yourselves. I'm long since gone. I'll leave it there. Next segment will be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all next time.